Hi there, Lord Jeg here, and what I wanted to talk about tonight is kind of a twofold thing. Disappointment and then comparing yourself to other people, okay? And obviously a lot of times those go hand in hand. What kind of brought this on and got me thinking about it is there's a lot of people in my family that have addiction issues, and part of the addiction issues, of course, are genetic. It just is what it is. Given my ethnic background, I guess you could say, there's a lot of disposition towards addiction, specifically alcoholism. But, the addictions, they all kind of cross and blend into each other. So, if you're addicted to alcohol, chances are it won't take much to get you addicted to porn or weed or coke or heroin or whatever. It just is what it is. At the end of the day, it's all dopamine. And if you want to go even further in biology, basically it's all sugar. That's really what it winds up being. And on a side note, that's kind of why sugar is probably one of the hardest things to kick, because your brain, the way that we've evolved is, we've evolved craving that. We want sugar. The body runs on sugar. Without sugar, we're done. It's all about the glucose, baby. But yeah, a family member who is really close to me recently had a relapse, and while the initial part of the addiction, there's treatment and there's rehab and all that, and there's, they encourage you to join, AA or NA or any of those. And then for members of the family or friends or whatever, then they recommend that you go to Nar-Anon or Al-Anon or any of those sort of things and kind of work on your own recovery. But it got me to thinking, one of the things that came out with the initial thing is, where they talk about how, self-esteem issues. Having low self-esteem and feeling that everybody picked on them, or, life was a struggle and life was hard. And, on the first pass, my first reaction is, well, boo fucking who, right? We're all basically dealt the same cards. Some of us are luckier than others, but at the end of the day, you got to play the hand that you're dealt. But that never goes over very well, so take it from your Uncle Lord. Don't tell people that. They tend to get pissy, and other people tend to get pissy, and it just turns into a big shit show. But basically, that's what got me to thinking is your disappointment with yourself, and part of that is listening to other people and or comparing yourself to other people. And this is where the problem lies. There's nothing wrong with looking up to someone. There's nothing wrong with trying to emulate someone. Sometimes that can even be a noble thing, especially if you've looked at your past, or you've seen, your circumstances, and you find somebody who's gone through similar things, and so you shape your life, kind of base it on them and how they dealt with what's going on with them. You can emulate that, and hopefully you can achieve the same amount of success that they have. But then what happens if you do that and you don't achieve the same amount of success? Or what if you backslide? Or, what if things just don't work out because you're born under a dark cloud, or with a bad moon rising, or, your mommy didn't tell you she loved you enough, or whatever. The little red-haired girl in 3rd grade didn't return your Valentine, or, whatever the excuse is. that's what leads to the disappointment. And if you're prone to addiction, well, there's the first step to a long dark road. But basically, that's what I'm saying is it's nice to be able to emulate somebody. It's nice to have good examples. But you should always look for other examples too, to see what happens the other way. And again, maybe this comes from my having a lot of family that struggle with addiction. So I can kind of see both ways, Once a relative can replace booze with Jesus or booze with their job or whatever, more often than not, they meet with quite a bit of success. But then I have the other relatives that can't do that or won't do that, and, pretty soon they're either dead or penniless or homeless or, or basically wishing that they were dead. So that's where the whole disappointment. Me as an outsider, the disappointment is different. I feel the disappointment because they just can't seem to get their act together. They can't seem to find that lifeline that they need. The problem is that you, with the disappointment that you feel, you have to work hard not to enable somebody. Because it's tough, when there's people that you care about, things are hard. Dealing with them and letting them continue to make the same mistakes that they keep making, or the same mistakes that you've seen other people make, that's really hard. It's hard to stay in your lane. It's hard not to show them how disappointed you are. Because, like I say, I've done a lot of things wrong. And one of the biggest things that I've done wrong is I've said, this is what worked for who, what, why, where, how, this is what you need to do, this is what you should be doing, this is where you're screwing up, and if you do this, you're going to be okay. Well, it's really not my place to do that. And if they don't do that, then, I'm disappointed. And they can see that I'm disappointed. So now I just detach, which I don't really have a big problem with anyway. But the problem with that is that then they're disappointed because a lot of times they become addicted to you or to your reaction. And that can be a really ugly thing because, again, they're trying to fill that hole. And it's just very, very troubling. Disappointing, as it were. But, again, the thing is don't become captive to somebody's approval. Don't become captive to needing that interaction. It helps for both of you to detach. And so, for anybody who's struggling out there, if you believe in God, then pray to God, trust in God. If you don't believe in God, if you're an atheist or an agnostic or whatever, find something positive to put your effort and time into. Don't put it into the bottle. Don't put it into, heroin. Don't put it into meaningless one-night stands. Don't put it into porn. Don't put it into food. Find something that you can do that you can channel that energy into. Because otherwise, let me tell you, from personal experience, it's going to be a long, hard road. And you're going to be killing everyone around you, whether you realize it or not, anyone who cares about you. Because they're going to be suffering watching you suffer. So that's basically all I have. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully that wasn't too preachy or rambly. Comments are always welcome, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks again.